HIV myths busted. Here's what you need to know about your prevention options. Want to be part of ending new HIV transmissions this decade? Here's what you need to know. Over the last decade, the fight against HIV has been transformed by medical breakthroughs. Robbie Curry, lead commissioner of London's HIV prevention program branded Do It London, says, quote, England is on track to end new transmissions by 2030. With the HIV prevention medication PrEP, alongside more traditional methods of prevention, proving to accelerate the downtrend in new HIV infections in recent years. He continues with, people aren't aware of how much treatment and prevention options have advanced. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that someone with HIV can still pass it on if they are on effective treatment, which we know isn't true, end quote. Another misconception is that people on HIV treatment have drastically different health outcomes in later life. Curie says, quote, if you have HIV and receive treatment early, there is no reason why you won't have a normal lifespan, end quote. Something else people aren't always aware of is that if you have unprotected sex and you aren't on PrEP, there is a medication that can be taken for 72 hours afterward. The good news is that we now have the tools to eliminate HIV because there are prevention and treatment medications that are effective. And just like we were saying about like if you had unprotected sex and you know that that person is HIV positive, you can go and get PEP and then go in 72 hours you have to go take that. And you take a pill for 28 days and it's eradicated. Thank goodness. These are all these incredible things that we didn't have in the 80s, that didn't exist in the 80s. And we hope that
you don't have to know that the person is.
Yeah.
Protect sex with somebody you met in the club.
Exactly.
You can show up in the morning and go, hey.
You know what? Yeah. Let me protect myself. Yeah.
Right. Now, this goes to health equity, though, right? And why, there's a question mark. Will we reach there in 2030? It really comes down to equity. It comes to rural areas where there are lots of people having unprotected sex. There's not a healthcare center nearby. There's not PrEP nearby. There's not this type of education. So we have to do better. Right now at QHCs, the federal government has started new positions called community healthcare workers, and their role is just to go out to where the patients are and not wait for patients to have to find us. And that's part of getting to 2030 with no more transition, but we're going to have to kind of bring healthcare to people as well, because the information is great, but not if people can access it. The medication is great, but not if people can.
From my seat, I make one observation to the story that I think is valuable from news and journalism. One of the things that I know from my seat, that if you don't say it 42 times, if you said it 39 times, they didn't hear you.
Right.
And in HIV and the myths in HIV, it's a situation where our health providers, our advocates, our 501c3 nonprofits, our politicians, our media must say over and over and over and over and over to try to reach this goal of 2030 with no new transmissions. And if we don't do that, we likely can't be successful, because people walk through their lives in a certain way of not paying attention. And you have to tell them over and over again. And HIV is one area that they must pay attention to. So the obligation is on us to educate.
Think about the power of science more broadly. Like, I mean, when the power of science to debunk these myths, like where we were at the 80s with, the myths associated with HIV/AIDS, like, but the fear that it was airborne, or that that it could toilet seats, and like all these fears that were not really of course we're never looking to science, but looking to homophobia, to racism, to that's where they got their fuel. And we learned this again with with COVID, with all the early myths that sometimes were associated with xenophobia and all sorts of things that kind of come along with these.
And we have to take note from other countries that are doing things that we aren't. Like I can't remember if it's the Netherlands or Norway or somewhere else, but someone that is when you go get your blood tested for just normal thing to go see your primary physician, right? AIDS is not one of the things that they test for. In other countries, it's become just one of the 8 things that's tested, so people know earlier.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
LGBTQ+ news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ+ community.